Should we be happy?
Yeah, but you certainly can't be happy today. It's not a very good day.
No.
Particularly if you hear the kind of news both on the local and the international front. It doesn't look too exciting.
It can't be too exciting.
Can you imagine Ghana without football? That we can't. Already we saw the way the country was, because we're not in Russia, then we're banned for a year or two, and
international football.
Yeah, it will be worrying. We can't be happy. It's not very happy.
It's not happy. Look, and aside that, I mean, even on the security front, I was so appalled yesterday that it took, the invitation of a party secretary and a party chairman, to appear in a regional security meeting before we could actually go and reactivate the office of the CEO of the and I was sad. Look, in this country, I've always said we have a national security minister, Dr. Kandapa. We have a minister for interior.
Is he still around?
Oh, he's there.
Oh,
he's there.
With
his dark shades and everything is there. We have Interior Minister Ambrose Derry. We have Defense Minister Dominic Nito. We have a National Security Advisor. We have a National Security Coordinator. We have an IGP. We have a CDS. We have all these people, plus BNI, everybody else. And we had to go and call a party secretary and a party chairman to be at a RegSec meeting after such rot had been perpetrated, such illegality, to go and tell them what. And you see, incidentally, the key that was brought to come and open the door was not a new key. It's the same old key, which means that,
kept the key?
Yes, which means that somebody kept it. Somebody knew where it was being kept. Exactly. The criminal act that we have in this country is clear. What they did is criminal.
And now
breaking into a public office.
They are also going on strike.
Can you imagine?
So it's more of you do me, I do you.
So you go in there to go and drag the man out because you say he's underperforming. And because of that, the ripple effect, all the doctors are scared of for their lives.
Exactly.
They all say they are going on strike. Have you saved lives or have you caused lives? And why are they not under arrest? Why have we not processed them for court? Is it because the doctor who was dragged out is not a policeman? Because we heard that when a policeman or a security person is involved in a situation, within a split second, they find the culprits.
They act with sway.
They find it. So what is happening, Mr. President? Is this a chaotic situation that you can't supervise? Good morning, Mr. President. This is not good. This is not good. This is not good.
One sad thing I heard yesterday was the regional minister suggesting that they are going to set up a police post at the hospital to stop some of these things. And I was so sad lying down and listening to him and other people say that. You see, when I was a young child, those of us who grew up in villages, if you had a sore on your leg, and we had several of them because we were
jumping around.
Now, in those days, what they do is that it is hot water. They put the hot water on it to kill the rotten cells and get you healed. Now, the founders have a proverb that if you have a sore and you don't allow the hot water to be put on the sore, but rather you put the hot water around the sides, what happens is that you worsen the situation. The sore will eat up your leg. If you're not careful,
you'll have to amputate your leg.
And that's exactly what is happening. Look, they attack Tamale Teaching Hospital, so you're going to set up a police post. They will go and attack University of Development Studies office in Tamale. You set up another police post. The president posts another person to, let's say, SCC in Tamale. They are not happy. They go and attack. You set up another post. Very soon they will attack the regional minister's office. You set up another post. What are you doing?
You're messing up everything.
That's it.
Look,
so the saw is there. You see, take off the saw.
The funny bit of the thing is that these young men, whoever they are, say the doctor is underperforming.
Who are you to even judge standard?
By whose standard were they
are you judging him?
Did you employ him? Do you work at the Ministry of Health?
I don't want to talk about.
Do you work at the Ghana Health Service?
I don't want to talk about standards.
So you walk in there with some stupid bravado and you say the man is underperforming. And then you go and take him out and you say that, you are the weed boys, he cannot buy you and blah, 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 blah. And we don't, look, the Regional Security Council, that's what is appalling.
I was trying to have an
Honorable Musa Superior, good morning to you. We're friends, but this is wrong. That you, as chairman as part of the Regional Security Council, a Regional Security Minister.
I think it's that his municipality that
you will have all the security capos in there, all the intelligence gathering mechanisms in there, and you still need a party chairman and a party secretary to join the table to say what? To open the door? Are you kidding me?
John, I think I need a police post in my house because I get some guys always disturbing me. So I need it.
We are protected by the Most High God.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
We are protected
Grace,
by the Most
let's talk
High
about
God.
news.
Good morning. Welcome to New Day News on TV3. My name is Grace Hamwasari. Up next is the news. Welcome to New Day News again on TV3. Let's look at the headlines now. Ghana National Association of Teachers NAT threatens strike over 80-month pension contribution arrears. Now, 5 principal officers of University of Education, Winneba, dismissed. Former workers of defunct UT and Capital banks blame Bank of Ghana for the turmoil in the banking sector. And on the international front, highway bridge collapses in Italy, leaving about 24 dead. The details of these stories and many more, including sports and entertainment, in the next few minutes. Let's go to a first story now. The Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, has given the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, a 72-hour ultimatum to release its share of the 80-month contribution arrears, failure of which it would embark on a strike. The association says it has run out of patience as the non-release of the bonds will deprive members of their lump sum benefits.
The contribution arrears of teachers have been outstanding from January 2010 to August 2016. However, monthly contributions have been paid up to June 2018. President Akufo-Addo, after pledging to ensure the arrears were transferred, directed the Finance Ministry in November 2017 to issue bonds to settle the arrears. This was made up of the Ghana Education Service Occupational Pension Scheme share of the Temporary Pensions Fund account, TPFA. It was released to the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, for onward transfer to their custodian banks. The TPFA bonds valued at 1.7 million cedis have not been transferred as it still remains with the NPRA. Addressing the media on Tuesday, General Secretary of the Association, David Ofure-Champon, maintained the NPRA has turned itself into a custodian and a fund manager, flouting the National Pensions Act, Act 766.
What is even more serious is that contributors who have retired go to NPRA for their benefits, and NPRA rather refers the retirees back to the teacher unions for the payment of their benefits.
He said they have waited for far too long, hence the 72-hour ultimatum.
After the 72-hour ultimatum, we would embark on a sit-down strike for the number of days that it will take the NPRA to release the bonds to our custodian bank. 2 weeks after reopening of schools for the first time in the 2018-2019 academic year, we would proceed on work to rule for another 2 weeks.
The NPRA was established by National Pensions Act, Act 766, and is mandated to regulate and monitor the operation of the scheme and ensure the effective administration of pensions in the country in accordance with Section 6 of Act 766.
Now, still around teachers, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has rescinded its decision to go on strike following the release of funds to pay their book and research allowance. President of UTAG of the University of Ghana branch, Dr. Harry Agbanu, spoke exclusively with our reporter, Daniel Opoku.
President of the University of Ghana branch of UTAG, Dr. Harry Agbanu, said the association has rescinded its decision after the release of funds from Friday, August 10. He is confident members who have not been paid would also receive their money this week.
It will be a decision of the National Executive Committee. Since the National Executive Committee hasn't met to review the ultimatum, the so-called ultimatum, we will take it at its stance. But the way I see it, now that government is taking steps to pay, it may become needless to want to proceed on withdrawal of activities.
Of major concern to him and the entire leadership of UTAG is having to agitate before the payment of the allowance, adding that the leadership of the association will begin processing documents for the payment of the 2018-2019 book and research allowance.
Every year, new recruitments are done, and some people go on retirement. So the data needs to be collected and then interrogated so that those who deserve to be paid are paid. It takes a while to compile the list of those who are eligible for payment. So I'm thinking that if government can make it a point that by the end of the first semester, this money is paid without anybody making noise, without the association having to follow up and to make noise, it will be very helpful to all of us.
3,000 lecturers in public universities are expected to receive the allowance. Each lecturer is entitled to $1,000 for books and 500 cedis for the research. Meanwhile, the leadership of UTAG has pledged its support towards the establishment of the National Research Fund, which will soon be tabled before Parliament.
One of the reasons for the failure of some banks in the country is as sleeping godfathers. These were the words of a former employee of UT Bank and a financial risk analyst, Samuel Ochre, exactly a year when UT and Capital Banks were liquidated by the Bank of Ghana.
On August 14 last year, the Bank of Ghana revoked the license of both UT Bank and Capital Bank, having declared them insolvent because their liabilities exceeded their assets. This followed a takeover by GCB Bank Limited. A former employee of UT Bank and a financial risk analyst, Samuel Ochre, insists the regulators cannot absolve themselves from blame.
I call the sleeping godfathers. For 272 financial institutions who have been reported to be in problem with 7 local banks failing, I don't think anybody can ever excuse the regulator. The second one is the Security and Exchange. For the purposes of all the companies that were listed and for the matters of all the other issues we have.
The author of the book, Fate of System Thinking, which explores the failures in the banking industry in Ghana and the way forward, is of the view that as far back as 2014, UT and Capital Banks with good governance and prudent decision-making could have resolved the challenges.
I think we should think of them as a system and think of them together. I think if all the moving parts had done their jobs as they should, UT, Capital, or any other person for that matter, would have been saved, irrespective of how bad business they were in. They would have been corrected by the governor or the regulator. They would have, their auditors would have pointed it out, and so they would have done the right thing. If employees were committed and knew what they were doing, and the culture was such enabling.
Another former employee of UT Bank, Kojo Kumsin, says life has not been easy after he was laid off from the UT Bank.
It's been a humbling learning experience, but we are moving on. It's been quite tough, looking at the kind of shake-ups going on in the banking industry and all that. Getting another job has been quite difficult, especially within the banking sector, because as it stands now, not a lot of banks are really employing, so it's been quite a challenge.
Kojo Kumsin says he's been unsuccessful in seeking a new employment.
I've gone back to school, and I'm also trying to do a few things on my own as well, because I believe that with the way things are going, we are gradually shifting into a phase of self-reliance. So trying to start something on your own and being as entrepreneurial as possible has now become the way forward.
The banking sector is currently undergoing some radical reforms engineered by the central bank.
Still in the banking sector, and it's a year after UT and Capital Banks were liquidated, and former employees of the defunct Capital Bank are asking the Bank of Ghana to take full responsibility for the bank's failures. They blamed the regulator for current turmoil in the financial sector.
The financial sector has been in a considerable state of turmoil for close to 2 years. UT and Capital Banks had to be taken over through a purchase and assumption transaction with Ghana Commercial Bank to prevent spillovers to the rest of the banks and the economy as a whole. On August 1, the Bank of Ghana declared 5 banks, namely Unibank, Sovereign, Construction, Beige and Royal, insolvent and revoked their licenses, then merged them into what has been christened the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. Former staff of Capital Bank have blamed the central bank for the crisis in the sector. Former digital banking manager at Capital Bank, Raymond Adai-Dankwa, said the regulator failed to appoint a supervisor to ensure prudent management of bailout funds. He said uneven supervision and inadequate enforcement played a significant role in escalating the woes of distressed banks.
When you give a liquidity support to a financial institution, you are supposed to appoint an advisor for them. Okay, in this case, it was not done. The liquidity support that was given to Capital Bank were in 3 trenches. So you gave the first one, the person couldn't account, and you went ahead and gave a second one, and then a third one. If you've given taxpayers money to somebody to go and work and you are not supervising them, then...
Former branch control supervisor of Capital Bank, Philip Yawson, currently unemployed, said the Bank of Ghana needs to set up a witness protection plan to make it easy for employees to report irregular movement of funds within the system.
In the sector, we need something like a whistleblower. If I see a transaction and this transaction is suspicious, we know we have the FIC sentence there, but how am I protected if you are my boss? You are the MD of the bank, and I see a suspicious transaction as an officer down there, and I come and tell you, and the transaction is your own or your related party. How would I be treated? The person who reports will be properly protected. You understand? It will give more confidence to those down there.
They entreated staff of banks to form unions that will work in their best interest.
Head of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, says the board chairman of the defunct Capital Bank, Dr. Mensa Otabil, cannot recuse himself of blame in the collapse of the Capital Bank. He was reacting to a statement he issued on his role as the bank.
In response to his critics, Dr. Mensa Otabil, in a statement indicating that his non-executive role as the board chairman of the bank, some decisions made turned out well, while others didn't. He said everything was done with the best of intentions in the interest of various stakeholders. Head of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, lauded Dr. Mensa Otabil for his response to the criticisms, but said he cannot absolve himself from blame.
Based on the report that is presented to him, either by the finance team, by the CEO, by the internal auditor. So even though the board chairman is not involved in the day-to-day activity, what happens day-to-day is translated into a report, either by in the form of internal audit report or other report that is actually presented to the board.
Away from the banking sector, 5 principal officers of the University of Education, Winneba, have been dismissed by the Governing Council. One other official had her appointment terminated.
The 5 are the Vice-Chancellor, who is serving a suspension, Professor Mauto Avoke, Finance Officer, Dr. Theophilus Senior Akoli, Daniel Tete, Mary Jime, and Frank Owusu-Boateng. They were interdicted in July last year by the university's governing council to allow for investigations after it emerged that some vital documents at some offices at the center of an ongoing investigation had gone missing. Subsequently, in January, lawyers of the five wrote to the University Council demanding their immediate reinstatement. A Winneba High Court in 2017 ordered Professor Mauto Avoke to step aside until a case brought against him and the university's governing council is determined. The order was made in a case brought before the court by one Kofi Kwaira, who insisted that the Vice-Chancellor and the Finance Officer were operating under the institution's defunct governing council. The plaintiff noted that the university's council's mandate had expired in November 2013. But the Education Ministry failed to constitute a new governing council for the university and rather allowed the defunct governing council, which had no mandate, to continue the functions of a properly constituted governing council as if it had been properly constituted. However, before the substantive claims were looked into, the university, through its lawyers, applied to the courts to dismiss the suit on the 3 counts, but the application was dismissed. The High Court subsequently found Professor Avoke and the school's finance officer, Dr. Theophilus Senior Akoli, guilty of procurement and other financial irregularities. The court subsequently ordered the retrieval of all monies paid to the contractors of the North Campus roads and a forensic audit of the project.
The office of the CEO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital has been opened by the Regional Security Council. This follows an almost 24 hours of locking of the office suspected members of the PRO NPP youth group Kandahar. A report by Christopher Amakun.
The actions that have been taken by these various groups shows you the gravity of the situation at the ground. Putting up, 7 to 10 security personnel in front of the office of the Chief Executive Officer does not assure anyone of anything. If people could come to the Chief Executive's office and then do this, what about me sitting in my consulting room or in the theater? Or some other nurse or someone else who may have an altercation with a patient? Through no fault of theirs. This is just unbecoming. It's people in town, some people in the hospital thinking that because of certain rights they perceive they have, that they can go out and then sack whoever they wish. And they've made it a tribalistic issue, and we are not interested in that. We are interested in our safety, we are interested in our security, we are interested in the ability to be able to work with our peace of mind, with all our colleagues, and we're saying for ourselves and for our patients. That is what we want. If these perpetrators or the perpetrators of these actions cannot be arrested in 24 hours, I beg to ask, if it had been a police officer that had been manhandled in this situation, do you think by now, 24 hours down the line, the people will not have been found? And the assurances are mere words, they are rhetoric, it's just talk. We want to see action on the ground. Putting police officers in front of the CEO's offices for his safety. It is not for the safety of the workers of TTA. The doctors there are running away for fear and panic and are not able to come to work. Who is going to look after these patients? This is the situation where at any time you are looking over your shoulder. Because these people do not wear bands or identify themselves with certain clothing or things like that. Security services where you can identify them. They could be anyone standing next to you, and you do not know who the person is because they tend to just walk in, like I see their relatives, and then they walk in looking as though they are looking for the chief executive. And it's when they get to the final destination that their true colors are revealed. We are not safe.
Let's go on the international front now, where a highway bridge has collapsed in Italy, leaving about 2 dozen dead. The sound of jackhammers reverberated through the night in this northern Italian city, where crews searched for survivors of a highway bridge collapse that's left about 24 people dead, officials said. A major section of the bridge partially collapsed on Tuesday, sending vehicles hurtling towards the earth. Abandoned vehicles remain on the span, with one truck close to the edge. Some chunks of concrete are the height of a 3-story building. That's all for New Day News. Many thanks for joining us. My name is Grace Hamwa-Sari. Log on to 3news.com for some more stories. New Day returns after this break. Don't go away.
When Harry says you stand, you stand. Well, take a look at the front pages. Daily Graphic starts us off. It says, well, Pastor Otabil speaks. Experts say he can't be absolved from collapse of Capital Bank. He comes with a photo of the man of God. And release our Tier 2 contribution, else NAT threatens Parliament to begin inquiry into collapse of 7 banks. And Intercity STC GN Logistics signed pact. We're interested in this particular pact. On to our next newspaper for today. The Daily Statement is our next. It says GIIF board satisfied with KIA new Terminal 3 project. And dubious deals at Unibank. It comes with a photo of Dr. Kwabena Dufo Jr. Piloted Unibank into collapse. Says who? We'll find out more. KPMG cites Belstar Capital and RLG. CEO solely grants $16.7 million non-collateralized loans. Wow, interesting. Let's work together for our people. President to church. Okay, interesting was there. The Ghanaian Times this morning reports that teachers fight MPRA over pension scheme, release our 1.7 billion in 72 hours, or face sit-down strike. NAT is warning. And Nei Isiu is the new traditional council boss at the Senyabreku Chiefs Lodge there. Police to enforce law on unauthorized use of sirens. Okay, is that the most important now? People are breaking into hospitals. Police, wake up. Good morning. President to construction of J.A. Kufuor estates. I had no day-to-day operations role in defunct Capital Bank. Otabil says so. Interesting. Today newspaper says collapse of local banks. Corporates will face law, according to Ken Oforiatta, who's the finance minister. And GN Logistics signed 5-year deal with Interstate STC. Chaos at Circle. About 30 shops destroyed. How? We'll later find out. On to our next. The Independent newspaper partner with government to help develop Ghana, Akufo-Addo tells churches. And MTN Ghana Foundation brightened the lives of 2 children with successful whole-in-heart surgeries. You know, the MTN Foundation is doing that in partnership with our 3 foundation here. And age between 0 and 12 years, well, you get a qualification and you get to be saved there. So, good news, isn't it? The Daily Guide says partner government for development, and that tells churches and expect massive projects, says Hawa Kumsing. Okay, 1 district, 1 factory. She said earlier that the money was ready for distribution. I don't see the money. Otabil breaks silence over Capital Bank, 610 million Ghana cedis mess. Arrest illegal siren users, IGP. Again, I say the Kandahar boys are on the loose. Perhaps we may have to look at their direction. The Herald newspaper says Ejaku buries Ghana in $82.6 million debt. And Dozier reveals huge financial loss to the state. Top Occupy Ghana man dragged before Amidu over fishy government contract. Comes with a photo of Kesley Hayford. And Ghana violates UN sanctions, caught trading with North Korea. Alan Trematin's photo is there. And up at the top, interesting. Lawyer Vicky Bright, lawyer Santi Bedieto, lawyer Philip Addison, Energy Minister John Peter Mewen, ex-Energy Minister Boache Jako. Okay, Tamale Teaching Hospital. I wish we could bring that back. The Tamale Teaching Hospital story up there. It says doctors and nurses abandon work over attack. Okay, so there you know, it's brewing in Tamale. And the mayor of Tamale says he doesn't understand why he was asked a question as to whether he's lost control of the city or what. The final newspaper is a final one. It says it's not a bank failure, it's individuals who caused it. Bailout cash will be recovered. And persons who are culpable will be made to face the law. Ken Oforiatta says so. And Iyoko kept over 1.1 billion cedis of government cash wrongly, Auditor General Domelovo says so. And financial burden cripples tuberculosis patient surgery. And Bank of Ghana to prosecute executives of failed banks. LC Awaji, well, what about non-executives? The 326 million UMB cybercrime case, 400 million bail granted to 12 suspects. That's the final one there. Let's have a conversation.
Johnny, I totally disagree with the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, when he says that it is not failure of banks and that it's individuals. You see, it is a system, okay? It is one long stretch of system. Now, individuals might have caused it, but they could have been stopped, okay? And of course, there are systems in here, in the chain. A director alone cannot just get up and say that I'm going to collect this money and take it to another place without going through either the CEO or the board itself or whoever, okay? At least there's somebody there who actually even signed a document to release that money. Now, how he was able to convince that person and several others in the chain to be able to get hold of that money, it tells you that it's a system that has failed. So individuals cost it, but it is the individuals work within the system. Yes, it is the banking system that has failed. The checks in there did not work.
I agree. Look,
that's why he says it's an individual.
I disagree also because you see, beyond everything, I mean, for example, the money was given to Capital Bank and which was moved to form Sovereign Bank. Who signed the document?
Exactly.
Who asked where the money was coming from? Who did due diligence? There's a boss at the head of banking supervision at the Bank of Ghana. What was his role? What did he do?
Supposed to go check whether the money is there or not.
So there's an institutional failure because the central bank has a supervisory role. They have a quarterly report that they submit to the Bank of Ghana. Who was watching at the time? So no one individual can just wake up and decide that I'm moving money, I'm asking for recapitalization, I'm moving the money from that place to. You cannot say that.
Even in Hollywood movies, you find them one or two go to the bank with the gun to collect the money. It's not one, so it can't be one person.
It can't be one person.
We're told, for instance, that the Bank of Ghana's role is to go to these banks every quarter to do what they call on-site checking.
That's what I'm asking. So that's what I'm asking.
I mean, were they there?
Were they there?
What did they see?
What did they find
out?
Who
did they tell? So it can certainly be an individual thing. It is a banking system that has failed.
If a bank, for example, in the case of Capital Bank, by 2015 has submitted to the central bank that we are having issues and so we're looking for recapitalization. The document that was submitted to say that we're having issues, who vetted those documents? And who agreed that the money should be given to Capital Bank, for example? And as at the time the money was given, you know that when the Bank of Ghana starts giving you support, it has to appoint somebody to be part of the directors.
Go check.
Was that appointment made, and who was there? So you can't say it's an individual problem. It's a systemic failure, and which is what will lead me to our next conversation. The issues about security. There's a systemic failure that's happening. Mr. President, I should like to address this briefly with you. Good morning, sir. And this is not what you promised the electorate before the 2016 election. You promised that there was going to be a lot of law and order. Today, what we see in Tamale, like what we've seen in the past, what do you call the boys? Nice Kandahar boys. Yes. But earlier we had the invisible forces and all of that. Now it looks as if it's coming back again. Whatever it was that was that, and I don't believe that we should be speaking to party executive to look at security issues. We have a lot of people we pay with our taxes to take care of our security. The National Security Minister is there. Honorable Albert Kandapa is there. Honorable Ambrose Derry is the Interior Minister. Honorable Dominic Nitiwol is the defense minister. We have a national security coordinator. We have a national security advisor. We have BNI. We have all of those people. So we don't lack it. We have IGP David Asante Pietu, who now is talking about what? Sirens, illegal use of sirens. When hospitals are, it's not new. We've spoken about it before. So I don't get it when we're talking about breaking into a state institution. And we saw how the National Security Coordinator was chased out of his office in the Ashanti region. Now it's in the northern region. We don't know where it's next. And the doctors have left their duty post because they say they feel threatened. They don't feel safe. That should be a paramount concern to you. And I don't see why a party chairman and a party secretary should be invited to a meeting before these issues can be solved. I don't see why it's so. I think that we must stop politicizing our security in this country. Mr. President, if we politicize our security, whether it be NDC or whether it be MPP, we will all face the consequences. And that includes you, sir. You are not safe as well. Today, it may be your party in power and maybe elements in your party that are perpetrating this. When the tables turn, and as ex-president, you're supposed to have security, you would have people walk into your home and pull you out and drag you out because we have allowed it to grow. Mr. President, this is unacceptable. This can never happen. This should never happen. Not under a lawyer, not under a human rights person. And I expect the president to speak definitely about this. You remember not so long ago, there was an issue that the president spoke about. Not so long ago, there was an issue the president made a definite statement. I want to hear a definite statement from the president about this issue. This is not good.
Jody, but you see, the point is that what are the police authorities in Tamale doing? Look, so they cannot act or what? What is it that is preventing them? We have always heard from people who say that, look, don't point fingers at the presidency when these things happen, because the president has appointed an IGP, he has commanders under him. Get them to do the work. What is the Tamale police doing? The person who spoke on TV and even threatened the mandate of the president said that, look, even if the president brings another person and he or she is underperforming, they will go and remove him. And yet, that person, we are told by the police, 24 hours, they can't pick that person up. So what is the police doing? Okay, the Tamale police, what are they doing? So that we can arrest a simple person who's all over. I have seen that face on almost every TV station. And yet, the police are claiming that they can't find him. There's BNI in Tamale, they can't find that person. So it is a sad situation, a very sad situation. And I'm hoping, and I have said that, look, going to put up a police post at the hospital is not the solution.
Right.
If you can get the resources to put up a police post in every institution that the president appoints heads, then be ready to do that. Deal with the problem. Deal with the root cause of the problem. And then you have a way out.
Look, I disagree with those who say don't go to the president when these things happen. Mr. Boachi Jaku was appointed by the president.
Right.
For whatever little slip or whatever slip it was. Mr. Boachi Jaku today is not a minister anymore. Now, in similar vein, Mr. President appoints all these people I've mentioned. The Minister for National Security, I haven't heard from him in a while. If you know where Mr. Kandapa is, let's know. Minister for Interior, Minister for Defense, National Security Advisor, and all of that. And you say, well, we should not go to the president and ask questions. If the president appointed them and we are not feeling their impact, we should go to them. For example, I mean, IGP now is talking about what? The illegal use of sirens. When people are breaking into a Tamale teaching hospital, and you say we should not ask questions. The point is, the key that was the Kandahar boys locked up the Tamale teaching hospital with is the same key that was brought. So where did they pick the key from? Who gave them the key?
And was the person who had it not, is that person not a suspect in the whole
Exactly.
whole thing?
If somebody comes, a group of boys come into the office of the chief executive of a teaching hospital, they lock it up, they ask him to walk out, they take the key away, and then suddenly the key resurfaces. Resurfaces from where? Who gave the key to who? And why is that person who gave the key, is it not a suspect? Why is it not being picked up for questioning at least? I'm not asking for the person to be caged. I'm asking for the person to be questioned.
You have to question
so we don't get it. And Mr. President, we don't need to politicize our security in this country. We don't need to do that.
All right.
I'm saying if the tables turn and we don't fight this now, if we don't nip it in the bud, like Bright is talking about window dressing the saw, if the tables turn and you are ex-president or ex-minister or ex-MP or whatever it is, and you do not have, you no longer walk in the corridors of power, somebody will come to your home and drag you out and nobody will say anything. Well, good morning, Mr. President. This is not good. We expect to hear a definite statement from you and see you crack the whip. And IGP, please stop talking about the use of illegal sirens and go and pick up the boys.
All right. It's a bad Wednesday, but Wednesdays are always...
Let me say good morning to our friends at Sogakope. Yesterday I saw them, Officer Sinclair, Fire Service, and the rest of the team out there.
Wednesdays are Black Wednesdays.
Yes, midweek.
It promises... earlier, I thought we were going to have a very fine midweek, but the news last night and this morning, not too exciting. So, that's it. Now, time to rant. All right, so let's take a quick break. New Day has more when we come back. Don't forget that we'll be talking about these banks, how they are collapsing, and who is to blame. Stay there. We'll have more coming up.
Welcome back. We'll be ranting shortly. We're asking a question. The mismanagement of the banks, there's 7 banks that have collapsed. Who is to blame? Who do we blame? Do we blame the institutions or the individuals? What do you think, Senior Bright? We're just talking about the institutions.
I don't think that you can put a finger on an individual and say that he or she caused it. Like I have always said, it's a chain. I mean, if your home is in a mess, do you say that your young boy, 12 years, caused it? Where were you?
Where were you?
How do you defend that?
What were you doing?
What were you doing? How do you defend that? Okay,
and I've had somebody on Twitter say that, well, it's the institutions and the individuals that make the institutions. So if the institutions fail, then it means that the individuals have failed. Yeah. Well, I think it's more of a chicken and egg situation. But the point is, where an institution had a role to play, and perhaps they didn't play the role completely. I mean, take a look now at the sharp U-turn by the Men's Gold boss, Nanapia Mensah. Well, is that apologizing to the central bank? What is it? Because his lawyer, Kwame Akufu, said they were going to the Bank of Ghana to have a conversation with them. Suddenly, after he poo-pooed the Bank of Ghana and said that the Bank of Ghana is now doing propaganda, he turns around to come and apologize. And I hope that the Bank of Ghana is really getting to the bottom of this. Because the Bank of Ghana has put up 3 or 5 notices to the public that don't engage Men's Gold in deposit and all of that. Then Men's Gold comes up with a spirited defense, a long statement and all of that. Then just about 2 days ago or so, Men's Gold boss apologizes in a tweet. What has changed? Is the Bank of Ghana right?
Definitely might have changed.
Okay, if the Bank of Ghana is right, why are we still having people depositing? And somebody made an analysis. I found a bit, that, well, I sell gold to you, sell to 999 more people. I get the returns, and then I give you 70% of that, and I keep selling the same gold. So you buy gold, and then I keep the gold. Somebody was making that analysis. I said, well, I am not an expert, so I can't say that's what happens anyway. But we're asking the question. Who is to blame the mismanagement of
the banks?
And if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. We love you here at TV3. Enjoy a blast. Let's get to know on Twitter so we can mention you appropriately on this particular one.
So, Johnny, like for me, I'm saying that if we start talking about individuals involved in the whole thing, we might end up, like I said, doing a window dressing kind of thing and leave the main sore there unhealed and getting more infested and ready to explode in our face. So a total overhaul of the banking system. I saw on one of the news, I think the Herald or one of them, not quite remember, where Madam Siawaji was saying that the central bank is ready to prosecute officials of banks.
Exactly.
I would have been happier if she had said that the central bank would prosecute both officials of collapsed banks and
the central bank,
involved in the whole thing. Like we've said that, look, it can't be individuals misbehaving. It's a system that failed, and that system includes our central bank. Whoever was there and whoever did what has to be punished. And I am saying that is the only way to deal with the situation. Now, if we start pointing fingers at this person was that person was this and that way, then it becomes a single thing. We have one target. We'll go to the law courts.
It's just
and
like
that person get convicted.
It's just like a policeman who is riding a motorbike without a helmet, and then he stops your car to arrest you because he says one of your headlight or tail light or traffic gator is not working. But he is breaking the law by not wearing an helmet to ride a motorbike. But he has the effrontery to come and stop your car and says that one of your lights is not working. How does that work? Anyway, I also heard the finance minister say that the monies will be retrieved. I am interested in the monies
being retrieved.
Yes, I mean 610 million in the case of Capital Bank is no joke. Think about how many hospitals.
Where is the money?
I don't know, but think about how many hospitals that can construct. So, for example,
we cannot point to something to say that the money was used to do this?
I don't know, but look, Little Richmond Akom, for example, in the Volta region, needs 15,000 cedis only to undergo a whole in heart surgery. We have been so far been able to raise 8,500 cedis on social media. You think that if we had 610 million, we can't save plenty Richmond Acoms?
We should find
we should find the money, 610.
Because I mean, look, in the case of Ibrahim Mahama, we can see the Jetta cement sitting there.
Right.
Okay. All we need to do is to get that factory completed, and then we can recoup the money. But if 610, we can't point a finger and say that we bought this with the money.
Let's run. Let's hit the streets now and check out what the voices on the streets have to say.
My position was a non-executive role. I was therefore not part of the day-to-day management and operations of the bank. This is among a 9-point response from Dr. Mensah Otabil about suggestions that he directly or indirectly was involved in the collapse of the Capital Bank. But many have suggested that his response is a no-starter, that once he's head of the board, he must equally be blamed for what has happened to Capital Bank. This morning on Daily Rant, we want to find out who should be blamed for the collapse of the Capital Bank. Is it the board, which includes Dr. Mensah Otabil, or management staff of the bank? This is your Daily Rant.
Ghana nankasa no yamanya atom no wodi henu kan. Abanti America da nyatom. Hwe ye wo Ghana ha de yenhwe. Abra oba ne de woyomi osweti yo. Ena ni sika obedi Ghana fo. Ghana fo wotu ani sika de ma no ono 51 million bi nkonhye da anya sika bia nko ye bia o yenhwe ne ho sam oso solo wo Ghana ha no mpo na obo ma Ghana fo to abade ma na dan kwakofo de ombra no mbaji wa mi sika no fe de onfama no mebo a na se ye wo Ghana ha na se obi o de asofo o de Bible be katenanim na se ono no Ghana sika 610 million Ghana cedis ebe as American wo midi times 10 asam ye kan wa he yo Master Mr. Ghana for there. Otabil. Oya Pastor Mensah Otabil. And now Woyomi. One and also for then called Ghana for the Yakin 610 million Ghana cedis. Abba.
A board chairman, a non-executive member. You still have responsibilities. One main responsibility part of the board, only they have what we call the fiduciary duty. Okay, and that duty is to protect the asset of what? Of the organization, and then the investment of the members. What I say, and it's how we are board chairman, we are board member. You must evaluate your appointees, I mean the CEO, the managers. You monitor them, you evaluate their performance. So performance, you must kick them. What I say, but a banner say, Yatao ya manoma say no ma jinsem na afe no pay me pie because media na me non-executive member. Na yes, I'm sure no me ye.
Yeah, you know, Pastor Mensah Otabil no. I can answer this year. He is not only a board member, another only board member of the what do you call the Capital Bank in the Woguno. He is the director. At Masia, the director. What could be a director at Yasia? What could be another director for TV3NEWDAY? At Yasia, then about no doye. All the boards need hinano, honor and control the affairs of the board. And I'm a so be a director, Chade. It is a director. Our opinion, I want to be no comes down or boils down to Obetanando. That's I will into my share. That's a Yama Jinsema. One of us from Francobono. At Masia, TV3NEWDAY. Director, our programs manager, and I'm a boy. Or accounts manager. Or board or managers be brief. But at the end of the day, no, say TV3 want to win Genesis here. Someone from Bohana. Director, I want to penny at down on I want to some brother or Bob.
Many dream, oh baby, I walk say. Board members, I'm not directing the affairs of what the organization. Organization be our set down objectives. Objectives are and a part of what other way than what fado. Into them direction, it is the mandate or the responsibility of the board in making sure that the CEO or the managers follow that direction. At the end of the day, at the coordination and so in there, I feel biano or management of the organization have to submit report of the activities of the organization to the board. Into the year can you say you're not correct. In painful I don't want to personalize this. They have me cry and say, and no man manage mismanagement koso bank na aban and I say Bank of Ghana who say the koso in inti and I say bank na conform. They say let us inject some amount of money, 610 million Ghana cedis. Like you said, it is like it is like 10 times or let's say it's like 5 times of what they gave to 10 times. Yo, 51. So it is like what? 10 times of what was given to Wyoming. Wyoming is the whole of the world of reality. It is a baby abanasonya. I made the Meccan war in a more prudent way. I wouldn't want to lambast an individual. You understand what I'm saying? No. But that's about in a more prudent way. Yes, sure.
Wyoming 51 million Ghana cedis. And man can in a more prudent way.
Welcome back. And the response from Pastor Mensah Otabil is making almost every front page of the newspapers I have here. Daily Guide put it, Otabil breaks silence over Capital Bank 610 million cedi mess. The BNFT says Mensah Otabil fights back. If you look at the Daily Graphic, experts say he can't be absolved for collapse of Capital Bank after he has spoken. And the banking issue also dominating. The Finder's story will take a look at bailout cash will be recovered. That's the finance minister. We'll see how we can recover that. So, and also we'll take a look at the Tamale Teaching Hospital issue. The minister has suggested that those involved should be arrested. On page 8 of the Daily Guide, the Northern Regional Minister orders CEO attackers arrested. Those are the two issues we'll take a look at. My guest this morning, a member of the NDC's team, Mr. Abraham Amalba is here. He's been missing for some time. Welcome back home.
Thank you for having me this morning.
All right. He's a regular here, so when he gets missing, he's already indeed a missing person. And he's also been missing for a very long time, but today he's back home. Member of Parliament for Kaikwe North, Honorable Fuseni Isa is here. Good morning, too.
Good morning.
I don't know whether I should say you are missing or you totally decided to abandon
it's
your
the return of the prodigal son to the
Okay, we'll take it like that.
Be back here.
Welcome home once again. Gentlemen, let's start the conversation with this issue of Dr. Mensah Otabil. Now, the Daily Graphic story says that experts say he can't be absolved for the collapse of the bank. He's spoken. He said he was only acting as a non-executive person on the board. Now, the Daily Graphic story suggests that the controversy surrounding the collapse of this Capital Bank continues to deepen. That's the Daily Graphic. 1 year on, while the inspirational preacher and former board chair says his position was not an executive one and was therefore not responsible or involved in the day-to-day management of the bank. 3 experts in corporate governance and banking say he cannot be absolved from the blame in the circumstances leading to the collapse of the bank on August 14, 2017. That's the story. Mr. Maliba, so these are what experts are saying, that we can't, or he can't be absolved of the blame. In his defense, he put out the fact that he is only a non-executive member. Does this therefore suggest that there were certain decisions taken behind him?
So let me start by saying good morning to your viewers. I think the press release did more damage to Pastor Mensah Otabil than when he kept quiet. I'm saying this because his release sought to play on emotions, but did not address the core issues of why the bank collapsed. He sought to indicate that he tried to assist a young entrepreneur and that in the process, the bank collapsed. However, he wasn't an executive director, but a non-executive director. Now, our courts have so held that board of directors, and the court did not distinguish between an executive director and a non-executive director. The court indicated that directors have a responsibility to promote the well-being of companies in which they are directors. So, basic function is to ensure that the company continues to be a going concern. If you then fail and the company becomes insolvent, as a board member, irrespective of whether you are executive or non-executive, you are called upon to answer questions. So his attempt to try to distinguish between executive and non-executive, yes, there's that distinction anyway, but the Companies Act, together with court precedents, judicial decisions, do not distinguish that way. In fact, in a recent case of the Muntie 3, you realize that the Supreme Court hauled in not only those who were sitting on the station and talking, but even shareholders, as well as non-executive directors. So it is difficult for anybody to want to go along with what he's saying. I do not think that that distinction he sought to do would exonerate him. It will not. Luckily for all of us, we are not sure whether he's liable or not yet. The investigations are going on. He has alluded to that in his statement. And I think that from now onwards, my advice to him, even though I'm not his lawyer, is not to speak on this matter. Because I also think that probably in this era of people misleading others, I'm sure in this statement he was misled to make those statements.
Honorable Hussein Issa, let me quote from one of the experts. Now, one of the experts in here, Dr. Richmond Tuahine, Mr. Asiedu Mante, and one of them suggesting that now Pastor Otabil's statement that he was a non-executive director who was not involved in the day-to-day management and operations of the bank was unfortunate and a confirmation of the lack of appreciation or the responsibilities of directors in the country. We're told that these persons are appointed based on what they know and what they can do. Now, this expert is suggesting that his suggestion that he was not involved shows his lack of appreciation. If so, then can we question why he was even made the board chair?
Good morning to you again, and good morning to my constituents and the good people of Okanko North. I hope that it's a good morning for all of them. And I will give a special shout out to Ibrahim Tamba. He asked me to mention his name on this program this morning.
He's watching?
He's watching, I'm sure he's watching.
Ibrahim, good morning.
Yeah. Capital Bank and matters arising. I think that this whole bank scandal is brought to the fore our corporate governance practices in this country. And for some of us, it's an opportunity for us to also overhaul and actually discuss this thing at this level so people get to know what is expected of directors of companies. And per the Act, I won't be able to quote exactly the articles or whatever in the Act, by Act 179, gives directors certain specific duties, amongst other things, a fiduciary duty to the company. This fiduciary duty means that at every point in time, a director is expected to act in the interest of the company. And let's also look at the reasons why directors are appointed. Somebody has been able to put their capital down as a shareholder, and maybe because they don't have the expertise in that sector, or probably are caught up with other things, they think that, oh, let me say, the law allows them to appoint directors who in a nutshell, are policy formulators for entities. So directors actually form broad policies which is implemented by management, which is the next level. So at every point in time, the board of the company or the directors are the ultimate decision makers within institutions. And so when issues like this happen, like Malaba cited the case of the Muntie 3, the ultimate responsibility will always lie with the board. The distinction between an executive director and a non-executive director, it's true. Executive directors, like we have in some of the banks, I should say, they are part of management at the same time. So they have the dual role of being in management and also being on the board of these entities. In this case, Pastor Otabel is there representing some shareholders. Himself and Otabel and associates are here, and then also his church, which is ICGC, who were shareholders within the bank. And so his interest there, it's not something that can be underrated. I mean, it's very obvious that he was in there looking out for the interest of shareholders. I'm saying all of this because some of us have been advocates for good corporate governance practices within our entities. If we are not moving in tandem with new trends or growth in corporate governance practices, then most of our companies cannot grow to certain levels. I mean, read about experiences of other businesses elsewhere. Let's take a case in point about Steve Jobs when he built Apple with his partners. But at a point he was taken off the board, even when he had shareholders. Sometimes the practices and things he had to do in the boardroom to get his way in management and all that, it's a very complex situation. This whole thing happening within the banking sector, I don't think that directors of these banks can exonerate themselves at any level. I don't think so. I mean, it's early day yet. The process is still in motion. Parliament is looking at having a public inquiry of some sort down in the next couple of days or weeks. The legal processes will also start. And the finance minister spoke yesterday, and he gave the direction. And he made a statement that anybody found culpable, whether you were on the board, whether you were part of management, whether you were part of supervision, whatever, anybody who is culpable. Because, you see, I've also heard people say Ghanaians are not angry enough. It's true. I agree with that point that things like that should get us very angry. We were talking of a bailout in excess of $2.5 billion. Look, when we went to IMF a couple of years ago, all IMF gave us was $974 million, and we were very happy. This is us losing $2.5 billion because of what I would term the greed and bad practices of a few people. And if we allow such practices to go on, people will look on with impunity, and these things will continue. I think that the BOG is acting in the right direction. I think that this is a bitter pill that we have to swallow. I think that it's brought to the fore some of the practices that happen within Ghanaian institutions, and I'm sure that it's one of the factors that inhibit the growth of our companies and our businesses in this country. Those reforms that is happening within our financial sector, it is not unique to us. It's happened in Nigeria a couple of years ago. Yeah. By the time it started, they had over 90 banks. By the time it finished, it dwindled down the numbers to just above 20. And that process enabled Nigeria to have a solid financial sector, such that today we are seeing banks like the Zenith, the GT banks, and the likes coming from Nigeria and investing in Ghana. And today, even within all of this, we are not hearing the names of the Nigerian banks because they are built on solid corporate governance. And with that solid corporate governance, our businesses cannot grow, irrespective of the sector. So we should take a cue from this. Let's learn. And we should also know that, look, to be on a board of the company, you need to be bringing something to the table.
Okay, I was
it is
going
not
to go
just
there.
by,
Yes.
you need to be bringing
I'll
something
get
to the table.
also react to that, because the experts are saying that he's acknowledging that he's not part of the day-to-day running, shows that he doesn't appreciate exactly what the so the competencies of people who sit on board, key.
Yesterday, I was talking to a young entrepreneur who was forming a company, and he was trying to put a board together. And my advice was, look, through your board, you could get some free services that if you don't have it on your board, you probably have to pay for. You can get a lawyer, you can get an accountant, you can get somebody who has experience in it. That is what a board is supposed to be. People who bring something to the table. In this case, Pastor Otabil had interest also in the company. So for him to think that he can be exonerated because he wasn't part of day-to-day, he is a significant shareholder as well. Either through Otabil and Associates and ICGC, his church. So it's a very complex, but I didn't like for the processes to run. I didn't like for the BOG, Parliament, or whoever takes up this issue, to take this issue to its conclusion.
Right, Mr. Madam, please come in.
Right, you see, one of the experts indicated that probably Pastor Mensa Otabil did not appreciate his role on the board.
Right.
That, for me, is not the problem. Because you don't need to have your board members being experts in the area that the company is dealing in. You don't need to have that. What you need to have, and he touched on it briefly, is experienced people who can bring their varied backgrounds to bear on the company's fortunes. And so you don't need to have an engineer to necessarily be on the board of an engineering company. You can get a medical practitioner who can bring his varied experience, his background experience to bear on the fortunes of the company. Now, when you do this, when you assemble people of all walks of life, and that's where I thought probably did not happen to Mensa Otabil. When you bring them all together, what you do is to give them a training on corporate governance principles. You take them away from their offices and send them to a quiet place and give them corporate governance training, 101, fundamental corporate governance training. I doubt if that has happened in this case. So it is not so much about, and I read somewhere in the Bank of Ghana's report that the chair of the board did not have any knowledge in the area. I thought that shouldn't be, because I have sat on boards where the chairman has no knowledge in the area, but was able to bring his experience to bear. because the company, when we were all put together, took us away from our offices and gave us some basic training. That, for me, may be the reason why Mr. Otable, who did not benefit from that, would say this. Because this is too fundamental, it's too basic for any board member to come out and say, I did not run the company on a day-to-day basis. In fact, no board member who has had that training will come out and say that. So for him to say that, I am not faltering his lack of knowledge in the banking sector, I am faltering the lack of maybe training, refresher course on corporate governance principles, which would have brought him up to speed with these basic principles. And so he has also indicated a point that I think I want to share. It's becoming clear that we now have to begin to have a second thought anytime you are being appointed onto a board. Because most people have always thought that, oh, as for the board, you can go, 2 weeks, you go for meetings once a month, and then you go away. You are not, so people don't take it serious. But the way it is turning out, people must begin to have a second thought when you are put on a board, because it could come to bite you. Indeed, in advanced countries, because they know of the risk associated with being a board member, they go for what is called board insurance or insurance, something to cover you, you know. So I think it's becoming clear that we need to begin to understand what the role of the board members are and then the consequences involved if your company goes aground.
Let's quickly tie this into it. The Bank of Ghana says that it will prosecute executives of failed banks. Honorable Fuseni, sir, the suggestion is that the Bank of Ghana should not only prosecute these executives, but also extend any investigations into its own officials.
I very much agree. I very much agree with that stance, because I don't think that only the banks or the executives within the banks could be blamed for what has happened to us as a people. You see, let's put this in perspective. We are bailing these banks out at in excess of 2.5 billion and counting.
That's a taxpayer.
This is like 10 billion cedis. And in looking at the opportunity cost of this 10 billion, it is a road that is denied the people of Akutima. It is a hospital that is denied the people of Bumprugu Yoyo. So the cost to the taxpayer is so grave that we can't just say we're looking at the executives. It's also an opportunity for us to look at our systems. I'm saying this because maybe 8-10 years ago, I used to be a CFO for a company dealing within the securities industry. And the regulatory regime, even 10 years ago, was that tight that, look, every month we had to submit a cash flow statement showing what inflows we've had within the company and what outflows, and showing our liquidity position, showing that we are actually liquid and we could stay in business. There was a particular ratio that we had to meet. This will be happening to the banks. But if there's somebody sitting at Bank of Ghana who is only interested in this bank submitting their statements and saying, oh, I have met what the law says, that this month I have brought my statement, and that should be it. Monthly cash flows and quarterly management accounts were submitted to SEC. And that is the law, and it continues to date. But if there's somebody sitting in the bank there, and all the person is doing is ensuring that, oh, the bank has submitted their statement, and so it goes on file, and so you have met the regulatory, without them going ahead to analyze its contents, to check whether the liquidity position of the bank or whatever institution is in order and they are meeting whatever requirements they are. I think that the Bank of Ghana itself cannot be exonerated. But it takes us to another level where you have a regulator like Bank of Ghana also supervising. Is it important? Have we gotten to a point where the regulation itself could be taken away and hived off into another body, and them given the requisite skills and whatever they need to do this with supervision better than we have experienced within the Bank of Ghana? In other jurisdictions, it's happening. It's happening. And so it's also an opportunity for us to look at internal mechanisms within the BOG itself. And because some of the things we are hearing, and even the disbursement of the 620 million that went to Capital Bank, some of the components and where it went to, and it's good that from yesterday I've read something about the roadmap that the BOG itself actually come up with, how it's going to come out of this quagmire or this scandal. Given some watershed for officials of Bank of Ghana and their taking of board sitting. It's all very important, and these are things that we should look at from this point going forward. Because it's seen that, look, ex-employees of Bank of Ghana, because they know the rules, and when they get opportunity to sit on the board, they are able to circumvent whatever the rules are. And I mean, I don't know why we waited till this happened to us, but it's an opportunity for us to review some of these things and chart a way forward for the interest of the nation.
All right. Quickly, then let me take a break and come back.
I have taught a course called Regulatory and Legal Framework of Financial Institutions at UPSA. I can tell you, as I sit here, that the banks are the most regulated institutions in this country. There are a plethora of laws governing the banking institution. You cannot run away from that. But if with all these things are happening, it tells you that it's not for the lack of laws or for the lack of regulations. It's the human beings. And that is where I agree with some people who are saying that, where was the Bank of Ghana that had all these laws available to use to deal with the matter? Where were they? And we got to this point. And so I am of the view that there must be self-introspection within the Bank of Ghana. Indeed, just as how some people have lost their jobs. You know, the banking sector has turned out a lot of people who have been removed from their workplaces because of this scam. Just as how those people have lost their jobs, those who were responsible for supervising but failed, I say they should also lose their jobs. If they don't feel the pinch, they wouldn't know how to do their work. So I think that those who are saying the Bank of Ghana should in itself be asked questions, I say that let's go further and also fire those whose negligence or whatever collusion there was and who had the responsibility to stem the tide but failed, must also suffer the same fate by also losing their jobs. And I think that's the way to go.
All right. And Professor Stephen Kukwasari is writing, and he's a professor of forensic account. He says that the test for criminal culpability is not whether or not one is a non-executive director. Well, that's it. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll take you to the northern region. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, let's go to Tamale. The Daily Guide is reporting that the Northern Regional Minister, Salifu Said, has called on the Northern Regional Police Command to arrest the youth who attacked the Chief Executive Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. According to the Minister, the NPP and government, the party and government have disassociated themselves from the attack on the Chief Executive of the facility and will ensure that the perpetrators of the attack are brought to book by the police. It stated government didn't sanction it. The party in the region did not sanction it either. Therefore, we don't associate ourselves with the attacks, and so we are going to ensure that the perpetrators are dealt with accordingly. Honorable Fisenisa, now, this should send a strong signal to those involved that they can't hide behind party and government to misbehave.
I will continue to disassociate the party and the government from such unruly behaviors. I felt sad as a lawmaker when I saw the video, and the impunity with which this young man did execute this was scary. I mean, whatever security the CEO had in place, I wasn't too sure. But I think that it's in the right direction. The regional minister is called for swift action by the police, and I didn't think that the police should have even waited for the regional minister to come up before they acted. What the young man did was criminal. And I'm just calling on the authorities to swiftly prosecute them. So it acts as a deterrent to anybody who is harboring such plans to unleash such lawlessness. I mean, for somebody to rise to the position of the CEO of a teaching hospital, it just means that person is contra the mill. And this is somebody who has contributed towards the healthcare system within the metropolis. I even hear he has a private clinic on the side. So he's such a giant when it came to healthcare delivery within the metropolis. And it wasn't in the hands of these young men who were doing this based on the fact that his performance is not up to what they expected. I don't know what criteria or who made them the people to assess the performance of the CEO. I don't even know whether they have what the requisite skills or whatever it took to assess the performance. And in one breath, it's like that. But whatever happened or whatever the underlining or causative issues are, I will also call on the authorities to address some of these things. And if you listen to what the young men were saying, lack of basic medicines within the teaching hospital and all that, I am not saying that it is justification for what they did. I'm sure that there were, or there are channels through which they could have channeled their grievances. Either I go see what there's a metropolitan chief executive, if truly they are party people. But it's also instructive, and Ghanaians should note that, look, the party itself has come to disassociate ourselves. Government is disassociated. Even the youth wing of the party. I heard the youth organizer of our party, Nana B, issued a statement yesterday, and he spoke on some radio station, disassociating ourselves. It is not what we are known for within our political tradition. Much more when we have a law-abiding president like His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo. I think that it's right that we have disassociated ourselves from it, and we are just not disassociating ourselves, but we are calling for swift action from law enforcers, so that these young men are dealt with. Anybody harboring any such traits or any thinking of unlawlessness should just forget about it, because it's not something that we are going to countenance as a party or as a government.
Mr. Amalbas, the police inability to arrest these men some 24 hours after, and it has to take the regional minister to ask the police commander to arrest them. Some have suggested it's unfortunate.
Very much so. But why are we worried now? Why? This is a regular thing. Coming events cast their shadows. When Chairman Blay, Samia Oku, John Buedu came out staunchly to support these hoodlums, what did we expect?
When was it?
Oh, when you people started, when the MPPs, the vigilante people started, when you started beating people at the Flagstaff House, you say Nana is a peaceful man. When you started beating people at the Flagstaff House, you pull one of your national security man from Kumasi, you beat him, you attack the court. In fact, even before this, there was a court attack. The district court was attacked. Even before this, there was a district court attacked.
Where?
In one of the towns in the Volta region. You see, all these men, young men, are emboldened by the support they have from big men from the MPP.
No, that is not.
And the fact that we refuse to hit the knee right on the head is what is festering this canker. No. Look, if today a similar act happens in any part of this country, you find the police zooming in and arresting the people immediately. This is not the first time that it has happened in Tamale. It is one too many. And people are wondering why these MPP hoodlums have been left loose in the Tamale municipality metros, and this is happening. The whole issue has to do with the support that these boys receive. And until the big wigs in the MPP come to a point and say that never and never and never again would we support such acts, this will continue. I am praying that one day the president will stamp his authority and allow the security agencies to do their work. This boy is a known, the boy, the green leader, the guy, Baba Sedi or Baba Musa or something like that, is a known face within the MPP. In fact, the regional minister, this morning, I heard him indicate that he knows him. He's a boy of the Musa Superior,
the municipal chief
executive.
Wow.
He knows him. This is a picture here.
Is he knowing him?
This is a picture here. This is a picture here. A picture here with Musa Superior. And so, if you have a situation where these boys are being, protected by such big wigs, it is worrying. Ever since this government took over, we've been hearing such attacks on church, on the courts premises. Most of them, people are being removed from their offices. Now, what is the motivation for one to even go to school? Because if I can go to school, become a medical practitioner, become a CEO, and a misfit can just come and pull me out of my office, don't you think that it will encourage some other young boys and girls to say that, oh, there's no need to even go to school?
Mr. Maliba, a competent court has convicted some of these persons, and yet this is going on. Does it suggest, therefore, that perhaps we're not doing enough?
That's the point. If people who sat on radio stations and criticized or attacked the judiciary, and you saw the sentence, you saw the anger from the judiciary, you saw how the judiciary bare its teeth against those people, and yet you have others who physically went to a court, attacked the court, the judge had to run for cover, and what do we see? A slap in the wrist.
So is it a fault of the party if our system is unable to deal with these convicted persons to deter others? Is it a fault of the party?
It is a fault of the party in the sense that I have indicated to you how the party machinery and the party apparatus is being used to protect them. Now, I felt disappointed when there was now an opportunity for the judiciary to deal with this matter once and for all. I said that, look, knowing the judiciary, knowing what they did to Muntietre, I thought that this would be the end of these people and that we will now have sanity. What did the judiciary do? And that's why recently they attacked another court. So if you deal with them leniently, as is happening, and with the support that they have from the party machinery, the state machinery, this thing will continue.
Let me go to Honorable Issa. So that's his suggestion that this is because these boys have the support of some big people in the party.
You see, let's move away, and it's one of the issues why we keep having issues like this is because when it happens, we tend to politicize it, and depending on whether you're in opposition or in government, you easily point a finger at somebody, so the other party, and then we have recurrence of such issues. Maliba, my learned friend, not a learned friend because I'm not learned. Sorry for I've not been initiated into the so my learned senior. Still, I mean, whatever it is.
Let me help you.
Yes.
My friend who is learned.
Okay, that's a good one. Amalva, my friend who is learned, I've learned something new today. You see, it's very easy for us to point fingers at the other one. And for the names he mentioned, you see, he knows as well as myself that, look, when you meet some party people, I mean, the excitement alone. So the fact that you have a picture of Musa Superior and someone else doesn't necessarily mean that he's his boy or something. I have pictures with a lot of those party supporters. And moving away from that, Musa Superior himself has come to speak about it, and they have insisted that the CEO will be in office and they are going to give him the necessary protection. A lot of the times, it's big men supporting some. I don't know any big man who will support such unruly behaviors towards. Maybe it's the CEO of Tamale tomorrow. Who knows who's going to be next if this culture continues? I think we owe it as a responsibility, as a duty, to ensure that these things, they don't even happen in the first time. But when they do, we need to be swift about it, take the necessary precautions.
That's
as
the
well
police.
To ensure that, yes, the police, I mean, it's in their hands. In fact, the Nurses Association are calling for a police post at the hospital. You see, the bigger issue is that it is not the first time it's happening in Tamale. It is not the first time. The third, fourth time or so that is happening in Tamale. And in the earlier times that issues are like this, has it always been NPP people supporting? No. It's happened on both sides of the divide. So it means that there are bigger issues that needs to be addressed right in the hospital. Is it lack of security? If you go to Kolebu has a police station just next door. Security-wise, it's strict. You see, I don't think that you can easily have access to the CEO of Kolebu, like we saw in the video. And I think that some of these institutions, whatever it is, you see, somebody heading this institution, making daily decisions, might not always favor everybody. Somebody might feel aggrieved and take the law in their hands. So we should have a bigger discussion on issues like this and stop accusing people who are not really involved and alleging and doing all sort of and politicizing this issue. The discussion should be bigger and expanded.
The perception out there is the party not worried about the perception out there that these persons are doing this because you're party people and they know that the police won't deal harshly with them? The party is not worried about this?
I can say in all authority that the party won't countenance such behavior. Whether or not you're a member of the party, whatever position you have, the party won't countenance this behavior, and the party will not support this. Already we have come to disassociate ourselves with this. What else can we do?
But those are words.
And you see, they are words, but words that show who we are, our intent. The party will not sanction such behavior, and so we will disassociate ourselves with it. But you see, the reality is that those boys who perpetrated this heinous act did not go to tell the mayor that this is what we are going to do, or did not go to tell the regional minister this. Sometimes some of these things, as to even if the mayor or the regional minister has the support or the needed information to be able to be picking up some of this information, it's some of the discussions that we should be having, so that they are able to nip this in the bud before they even happen.
I have spoken to some policemen. Look, they tell you that they are unable to deal with these matters because they are afraid of politicians who in fact, when you in the early days of this administration, when they were all over, the invisible forces and the what forces were all over.
They have never been all over.
The PRO, Ekulu, police PRO, Ekulu, indicated that the police are not able to act because they are afraid when they act. Party boys, because they are party boys, politicians, government takes action against them and sometimes transfer to places that they would normally not want to go. So they themselves.
That's what he said?
That's what he said, Ekulu, in the early days. Go back and check. And so if you where was he saying it?
Why was he saying it?
I told you that. I've just indicated to you that in the early days when the MPP, when the attacks were all over,
but the truth is that any policeman that they were the uniform that he wears.
Their hands are tied because of the politicians who would go and ask for them to be transferred and all kinds of things. So they feel that they themselves are not safe in their work if they take action. And so until I've indicated, until the politicians themselves stop and withdraw their backing for these boys, I am afraid it will continue. The police will be powerless.
You see, any policeman.
Before you go on, Mr. Malaba, quickly, let's address this. Now, if you're referring to the public affairs director of the Ghana Police Service, are you very sure what he said and where he said this?
That was the early days of this brouhaha, when the Flagstaff had a beat, the early days. And so he was on radio, and he was asked that question. This question you asked: why is the police not proactive? Why are they not able to deal with these matters? And that was one of his responses. And I think that
sometimes the officers are afraid of politicians.
They are afraid of politicians, and I would say they are afraid of politicians, and they feel that when they act as policemen, men who act, they would be transferred or they will be held responsible because of the party boys. And that is the point that we need to deal with, where politicians begin to interfere in the work of the police. If that is not stemmed, like I indicated, these things will continue.
Any policeman who says this, that he's constrained in doing his duty, a duty that he's been recruited, trained to do, if he's restrained in doing this because of one politician or the other, it's not worth his uniform. I think the police should also be up and doing in some of these issues and stop this getting the soft targets. Right. Politicians are blamed for everything. Politician here, politician there. The police service also have a duty to the people of Ghana to protect us, and they have a duty to protect the CEO and whoever is in office. Wherever.
I'm grateful. Honorable Hussein Issa is a member of Parliament for Okai-Kwe North. He's a member of the NPP. Mr. Brahma Malaba is a member of the NDC's team. Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time with us. Stay right here on New Day. We'll have more coming up.
So there is a story of shock, surprise, acrimony, and disappointment, if you like, regret on both sides. Rough Town Records and Ebony's father, Mr. Kwateng, out there. But what would Ebony be thinking at this point? And is Ebony perhaps saying to her mother, mother, look, well, take a look at this conversation.
Now, it's quite clear that the relationship between late Ebony's father, Nana Opoku Kwateng, and Bullet, the manager, has gotten better, and we don't seem to understand what really the issue is. In one breath, it's money related, in another breath, it's another thing. So I have with me here, father of the late Ebony. Nana, thank you very much for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so the relationship between yourself and Bullet, how would you describe it at the moment?
Not healthy. That is the way I'm going to describe it. Isn't healthy at all.
And what's making it sick?
If I could recall, there was a time Bullet came to my house because I was asking certain questions. Nana Hima, my daughter, made a lot of complaints.
What sort of complaints are you referring to?
Bullet was not in good talking terms with her and all that. So I didn't like it. I called Bullet. There was this thing Bullet said, a contract between himself, Bullet, and one Midas Touch. This Midas Touch, according to Bullet, takes 50% of every money that the Queen gets. And the 50% he takes 40, Bullet takes 60% and the Queen takes 40. When the Queen said this to me, honestly, I didn't like that because I never knew. I asked Bullet, he says, yes, there is this arrangement between himself and this Midas Touch, the Rough Town, whatever. So I remember I asked him if he could provide the contract. I wanted to see. Actually, I wanted to see. Then he says he will bring it to me. Initially, he said he gave him a copy. But Nana said no. So Bullet said he was going to bring that to me. It never came. So it made me to think that there is something that is not too right. 50% somewhere, before 50% sharing.
So this is the genesis of your...
For my problem, that is right. This is the beginning of how I felt. And I didn't like that.
And this was not resolved at the time that Ebony died?
Well, because my girl had gone and I was not going to see her any longer. I forgot about all that. So you could see Bullet was that time close in a way. Because there was no time to be, grudging and all that. So you saw us, myself and Bullet, coping in a way. So when the funeral and everything was settled, I was waiting for one day Bullet to shoot me with this. Because I was very concerned about the contract. Honestly, I was very concerned. Because the contract that is taking 50% of somebody's toilet sweat is a big deal. I asked about these royalties. I wanted to know everything. The fact that my girl is no more doesn't mean I should not be responsible and take care of what belongs here. So I was like, I asked, and he says, well, he takes his rough town, whatever, Midas takes 6 months. Did you get that? So I kept my cool. But I had this info from somewhere, a reliable source, that Bullet was taking money from UK, from iTunes. But I didn't know, he never mentioned that. Of course, I'm not a music person. I wouldn't know all that. I will expect this man to say, Nana, this is what is something.
So you're calling him a cheat is in reference to the contract that existed between himself and Ebony before Ebony's death? Or you're calling him a cheat because you feel that he's collecting monies from sources that has to do with Ebony that you don't know about?
Honestly speaking, the issue with Ebony has always been a concern between himself and my late queen. The contract, like I said to you, the 50% somewhere, of which there was nothing to prove. Where is the agreement? And I sit here, my lawyer even asked this question several times.
Well, somebody will ask, if you knew about this contract whilst Ebony was alive, why didn't you raise the red flags? But now that she is passed, why are you connecting your allegation as a cheat, to this contract that is irrelevant at this point?
You know what? The word cheat, I remember I never used it anywhere. I've never used the word cheat. It has its own meaning. As I sit here, my memory is telling me I haven't said that. The word cheat, I've never used it. I've always said that the contract between himself and the Queen was not anything to write home about. So I've always complained. I've never liked that. The Queen told me about that. Besides, verbally, I said it before, verbally, I have some voices here that you will be amazed to hear, and I believe I wouldn't be able to put out, and I wouldn't do that.
And what's in these voices? Is it connected to the contract that Ebony signed, for instance?
Yes, the contract never said the manager should use certain words on anybody like that. I didn't see that in the contract.
Words like what?
No, I don't know. I wouldn't mention that because it sounds bad.
Statements about using certain words.
Cressini, foolish girl. Look at that.
Bullet said these about your queen.
I have them here. When I'm supposed to even to go to court, I assume I'm going to court. It's still here.
Called her what?
There are many I could not say. I'm telling you because I'm an elderly person. What is the basis saying? No, I wouldn't mention them. But like I've said, abusive he was. Serious. Not once, not twice. Verbally. This is what I mean.
It appears that every time there are issues between yourself and Bullet, obviously has to do with finances. And do you worry that it might create a certain perception of being after money more than any other thing, post your daughter's death?
Well, I'll be very disappointed if anyone could say this. I'll be highly disappointed. It's not about money, but the fact that it isn't about money, that's also, it can't be the case that I should let what is due Ebony just go down the goddamn road. No way. It wouldn't be the case. As a responsible father, I'm doing what is expected of me.
Speaking of expected of you, what was expected of Bullet and yourself was to start a foundation for Ebony. What is the status of that foundation?
You know what? Bullet said there was this 50,000 he was going to use to do that for the concert revenue. But the concert that was there when they presented like it is, according to the calculations, and I have them here, he wrote it in his own handwriting. This is the calculation Bullet did and presented for the content. This is from 1 to 3. I have them here. I want to put it out here for us to do the calculation so that you and I will understand that indeed the greedy bastard being me might not even be the case. Media Sole, I don't know what that is. Maybe you know better. That is 4,000, I mean. He says the artist, so I could see Adam, the artist, took 3,000. Keche took 3,000. Raskuku took 1,500. Captain Planet took 2,000. Coded took 1,000. R2B 3,000. Raquel or whatever 1,000. Carl Songs 1,000. And the MCs DKB took 1,000. OG Ebony's I don't know, this guy the closest yes, he took 5,000. 500, sorry about that. DJs Shawarma, everybody's DJ took 500. Everybody's DJ Shawarma took 500. So the amount that was left, according to him, was 4,660.068. And the 40% that is due the Queen. According to the calculation here, I was supposed to receive 1,864.272. But it was so nice to me. They added 200 Ghana to it. A gesture. Making 2,000, of which I so much appreciate.
That's what on his Facebook post, for instance, mentions that he had a band which he paid himself, and you didn't even ask about it.
Because how would I know? Sweetheart, how would I know? All I knew was Kasapeko taking charge. They even showed me the copy of the check they gave Bullet.
And it was worth how much?
39,620 thereabout. Yes, I think so. I quite remember that.
A check that was given from Kasapeko.
That's it, to Bullet, after they've taken our deduction, after they've taken their share. What was left, so they said, after taking our share or whatever, this is what is left. We gave the check to Bullet.
We've seen the post from Bullet, but on the post, there's a list of things that, you know, or monies that have has exchanged hands. For instance, he mentions that you received about $9,300 in royalties. Is that true?
When I hear this, I feel bored. Yes, I did receive that.
What was it meant for?
Royalties. That my girl worked for. And asked me what happened. Like I told you earlier, I was hinted that royalties from iTunes comes every 1 month.
So the $9,300 you received, was that for a month or over a period of time? From what time to what time, do you know?
6 months. After deduction, blah, blah, blah. Ohima's percentage was, the 40% was the amount you mentioned. So it wasn't a dash. Do you get that? Was money meant for one's hard work and sweat? It sounds as if somebody's dashing. Are you getting my point here? I worked so hard, and this at the end of the day, this is what is due me.
Now, away from all of this, Bullet has said in a statement that he doesn't want to have anything to do with managing, you know, what's left of the memory of Ebony. Are you going to take up, for instance, releasing the unreleased songs? The Ebony Foundation has not been launched. We don't know when it's going to be launched. It's quite a lot of work. Do you have the capacity to run Ebony's memory?
I will do my best, my maximum best. I will need your support to make it big, to make a dream a reality.
Do you already have plans, and what do you envisage you will do with the foundation or the memory of the
I've done the registration, and I think in due course, I'm going to come here and tell you about them. But I have the registration already, the certificate.
Let me just push you a little bit. Now, you know your daughter very well. You know what she can entertain and can't entertain. If she was looking down on you now with everything that's happening with the management and her memory and all of that, how would she react to this?
She would like that because she's always known that to be very supportive and be there for her. I did mention this severally. She's always made a point. She knew who the father is. Oh yes. So wherever she might be, she's waving at me and say, "Da, bravo." She's doing that, I can assure you. She understands the deal. She knows the father is not a pushover. But the father is not greedy in any way. She knows too well about that. The father is not greedy because the father himself is okay, content with the little that he has. I shall always miss her.
Are you open to a reconciliation with Bullet ever?
Bullet could still be my son. No two ways about that. Like I said earlier, if you recall, during the funeral here and there, it was like, okay, all was well. I read from the that through him we had a lot of support. Indeed, he did introduce me to 1 or 2 people, personalities. I've always been a father, so I'm always there. I've always liked him, but there are certain things about him that puts me off. If he could verbally be so heavy on my girl, violently. If there is this contract that you could not provide, but my girl was in it, that you never made any provision of a contract that binds it, that guards it. A responsible father like me will be very disappointed. And that is something I've never liked and has always been in me. But as human, we live to forget certain things. We live to grow as we get closer to our graves each passing minute, second.
So what do you think of Wendy Shea?
Do I even know? But looking at things, she's going to do well. She will need the support of the general masses to make it work like Ohima had. And I pray that she gets that support to excel. Because I could see some talent in her. A very beautiful one like that. So I wish her well.
A lot of people think that she's a fine replacement for Ebony. What do you think?
Replacement? For replacement, I'm not too sure about that because Ebony, was Ebony, for real. So obviously, like me sitting here, I'm very different and unique. So replacement, maybe there's much more to say about that. For replacement, she could be better than Ebony. But as equality or something, I'm not too sure it's going to be the case. But she could be better. Who knows? It's only time that will tell.
If you had an opportunity to meet with her, what advice would you give her?
Again, I would encourage her to do some more. She should work harder. Because hard work, I've always said, pays. So I always say she should do well. She should, yes, be so heavy on her activities to excel. That would be my best advice.
Anything related to her, her work with Rough Town Records, what advice would you give her?
It's a beautiful choice. She's made a choice. Her choice should be respected. So I respect her choice. So that's it. I respect her choice.
I have been speaking to Ebony's father, Nana Opoku Kwarteng, and we've talked a lot about post-Ebony's death, issues with Bullet, the Ebony Foundation, and of course, what he does to keep the daughter's memory alive. My name is Miriam Osei Ajman for TV3 Entertainment Desk.
So there you have it, all the issues that are coming up. I told you to get all the details here on TV3, first in news, best in entertainment. But Vodafone, as part of his 10th anniversary, is giving you a very solid chance. Don't commute, that's what we call it. It's more like a 10 pesos this thing. Now, for only 10 pesos, you get to enjoy data, you get to enjoy voice calls as well. Plus, you get 10% value or 10 times the value of whatever credit you get. And you get to share with 10 other people. Simply subscribe by dialing 135. Yes, 135 is the 10 pesos this thing. And you get a chance to share all of that only on Vodafone. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Are you ready? And speaking of which, let's take a look at what Tilapia has got to show. A lot of talk on social media regarding Dr. Otabel's statement, his 9-point statement that says that he was the non-executive member of the collapsed Capital Bank. Well, Tilapia says bearing the Capital Cross, and it comes with a photo of a mob who perhaps are wanting to, was it lynch or cane or whip or whatever it is, like the typical Jesus story. And Dr. Otabel wearing his regular agbada, that you will find there. His carrying the Capital Bank cross. And Yoko is by the side. And it says, Father, forgive them. Perhaps for they know what they do, or maybe they know exactly what they do. But I've seen a lot of people write stuff on social media asking questions Very valid questions. For example, how the money from the central bank got into the formation of the sovereign bank. People are asking questions about that, and why sovereign bank itself didn't survive, you know, the turbulence. Right? I don't know what you think, but tilapia is a bad boy. It's official. He's a very, very bad boy. He's a bad boy.
That's what happens. I'm just hoping that this thing will get to an end somewhere. Yes, so that we know who has done what instead of this. All over. I had not followed exactly what was on social media until yesterday when what I saw wasn't exciting at all. I'm just praying that these things get properly sorted out.
The memes that are coming out, you know, people writing things, joking, cartoonists, and people producing songs, and people, you know, running satire on it. I think that we may just want to hasten slowly. And listen to the Yoko, let the Yoko complete its processes before we start running people. In Ghana, I always say, look, people are guilty until they are declared innocent. It's not, I mean, then the people who are actually guilty are left to go off the hook, like those who broke into the hospital at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. They are left to go off. But I want to tell you about a young boy that we're trying to save here. Community Connect has been rallying support for young Richmond Akom. He's 19 years. He has a hole in throat condition. Now, the doctors at Kolebu supposed to perform a surgery on him. The surgery was supposed to have happened in May, but there's no money. So, since we started raising money on social media, we've been able to raise close to 9,000 cedis, maybe a little close to 10,000. But we need 15,000. So we have a remainder of roughly 5,000 cedis. If you are touched, your widows might. And if you follow me on social media, you should have seen the videos out there. The WhatsApp number, or if you like, the mobile money number registered in Richmond Akom's name is 054-905-0260. That's 054-905-0260. Let's save a life. It's not enough to go to church and pray in tongues and say God bless you, or go to the mosque and pray in tongues. This is how to help. 054-905-0260. 054-905-0260. Save Richmond's life, please. If you need further information, I'm on Twitter and Facebook. Connect with me and let's find out.
It's good to save a life.
Yes.
Let's pray and hope that people.
I was hoping that one big man would just say, "Oh, take 15,000 and save Richmond's life." It's been nearly 2 weeks since we started raising the money, and all the big men, but you find them eating at the restaurants and the supermarkets and shopping for the slay queens and everything.
That's their money.
So it's their money, but you know, save a life.
That's what they prefer to do. But a few others, I'm sure, will be touched by that young man's fate and try and help.
So 054-905-0260. 054-905-0260. Save a life, please. Good morning.
Don't forget that Jesus said that you did it for my brother. So
yes, you've done it for me.
So go ahead and do that and save a life this morning.
Midweek. See you tomorrow, Thursday. We'll be throwing back.